We're in Vienna right now. This is my yard where I spend a lot of time. My name is Stereotyp. This is my dog. It started with being creative. My creativeness started with painting, drawing, and doing that kind of stuff. When I was 19, I went to New York City. Spent 6 years there, and what totally got me is the whole dancehall scene over there, you know. This is when I first got like really interested into music, because I just liked the whole vibe, and it was completely strange to me, you know, coming from Vienna. There was not much booty shaking clubs. There was all back in the day. There was like acid house kind of, you know, and nothing else. So I came to America, and I got to know all these new different sources of music and attitudes. And this is where I first started to get into music, collecting it, and yeah. So it basically all started. And actually, when I came back, when I was 26, that's when I started making music, actually, you know. That's when my friends, Kruder and Dorfmeister, Richard and Peter, had a little studio in this here house under my flat. They rented out the studio to make a summer camp, to just camp here and make a production for one summer. This is where I first got into electronic music, and even just into the process of how music making with computers actually work, you know. I thought I can do that too. I was like, yeah, I can do that. I took myself a loan from the bank, bought equipment, and hated myself for it right after, because I was like, oh man, I can't do this. I suck. This is not fun. This is hard, you know. I thought it's gonna be all fun and games. Yeah, so it took me like at least a year and a half until it all got down to the point where I could actually make a tune that I like, kind of, before it just all sucked. Just when it really started. So that would be like more than 12 years ago. Scratch it, baby, scratch it. That was like Atari, you know, Atari sequencer, monochrome, screen that thick, you know, that big and that thick, and a clunky mouse to it with the computer that was like that yay big. I had a hard drive with 4 MB, that big, you know. This is like, and it had this big fan on it. Every time I turned it on, it made meh. It's crazy, man. I only had like a sampler, Akai XL 3200. That was my first setup. Then I got a keyboard, then I got the Nord lead, and that's pretty much how I made my first album. Just a Nord lead and Akai XL. That was it. The first album was the first album was actually My Sound. Before that was Stash It. That was on G-Stone. That was like an EP, and before that EP on G-Stone, there was a release on Uptight Records, who was owned by Werner Geyer and Rodney Hunter. That was the first ever release, which created total confusion, kind of, because I did stuff that did not fit into any of the genres that were present back then. Got a lot of criticism for that too. People were like, what the fuck are you doing this for? Nobody's gonna play it. It doesn't fit into anything you do. We do, or the rest does, you know? It doesn't fit in there, you know? But nothing really changed since then, kind of, because I never got to the point where I make music that fits into a certain other thing. I think that's why we came up with that barefoot thing, you know, in Vienna. I think it's just aesthetics, you know. It's the way I heard these sounds and these things. Some of them was just, I was thinking to make it more massive, sound better and stick out, you know. It's just like maybe also because I heard all these tunes back in the day on tape and I was all like, oh man, it's so muffled, everything sounds so bad quality. I just wanted to make a high-res version of it maybe, you know. And that's where the influences of my European sound imprint maybe came through. Yeah. Back in the day, it was a lot of with the synth and with a record player, sampling things. Yeah, it's almost, if I look at how I work with the music, it's almost the same approach that I do when I paint, whereby I use all of it, all kinds of stuff, whatever makes paint, I use it on paintings. And the same way was my approach on sound. Anything that gives me what I want, you know. Would I be sampling or recording stuff with the microphone, you know. Yeah. It was all autodidactisch, or you call it. I had the luck that most of my friends were into this for a longer time than I was. So I could ask Rodney, I could ask Peter if I have a problem with it. So I actually never opened up a manual, you know. It's just like, what's that button, what's that button? How do I make something faster, slower? Just called up a friend of mine, he'll tell me. It's totally lucky, I mean. And I treated it like that too, you know. I share my secrets, where they're not secrets at all, with anybody, you know. Everybody cooks with water. Yeah. Nowadays, I have to admit, I went back to using almost everything internal now. Especially now that I got like the whole Waves bundle and all this stuff. It all got pulled into the computer. It's so much faster, it's so much easier. You know, you can do 5, 6, 10 tunes at the same time and go and open it up and close this one, save it up, open it, go to another tune, make something here, do something there, and keep your inspiration going. Back in the day, you had one tune, you had to finish it. You know, you can't just rip everything out, take the 35 tracks and mix them new just because you want to start something else up, you know. So it has nothing to do with anything with aesthetics or so. It's more, it's easier to work with, you know. So that's why I jumped on digital. It's easier to work with.